EMC Mirrorview Insight for VMware, a simple, easy to use, and free tool that extends VMware Site Recovery Manager, including failback, for EMC Mirrorview customers. So first off, where can you get EMC's Mirrorview Insight for VMware? That's simple. It comes bundled with EMC's latest storage replication adapter for Mirrorview. Once the Mirrorview adapter is installed, you'll see Mirrorview Insight for VMware installed in the current location. When you open up Mirrorview Insight for VMware, you'll see that it's a fantastic and easy to use tool that will provide end-to-end relationship mapping between your VMware infrastructure and your storage replication configuration. What you'll also see is Mirrorview Insight for VMware provides dynamic failback capabilities to EMC Clarion, Mirrorview, and VMware Site Recovery Manager customers. Let's see Mirrorview Insight in action. Our production site for this demo lies in Seattle, Washington. We also set up a disaster recovery site in Boston, Massachusetts. EMC Navisphere in the middle is also VMware aware and has deep integration ties with Virtual Center. In this demo, we're going to concentrate on VM6. Let's go ahead and fail over VM6 from Seattle to our Boston location using VMware's Site Recovery Manager. VMware's Site Recovery Manager makes disaster recovery simple and very easy, and makes disaster restart as simple as pushing a button. EMC supports Site Recovery Manager across our entire storage portfolio and even heterogeneous storage configurations. Whether you're a small to medium-sized business or an enterprise customer, we support every protocol, whether it's iSCSI, NFS, Fiber Channel, or even Fiber Channel over Ethernet configurations. EMC also supports every RPO, whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, or even continuous data protection technologies. Now that we've failed over VM6 to Boston, let's open up Mirrorview Insight for VMware and show you why we're so excited about the added capabilities that this new tool brings. The first step in this process is a very simple discovery step. All we need is the Clarion IP, admin, and user credentials, along with the Virtual Center admin and user credentials. Once we've added in that information here, it's as simple as clicking on the Discover button. Mirrorview Insight for VMware is deeply integrated with Virtual Center. Here what you see is the dynamic discovery of both the array and Virtual Center configuration. More importantly, what Mirrorview Insight is doing is creating a dependency mapping between the virtual infrastructure and the underlying storage array replication configuration. Now that we've discovered the environment, there's a wealth of information at our fingertips. Let's first take a look at the Replicated LUNs on Array tab. The Replicated LUNs on Array tab provides insight into which LUNs are being replicated by Mirrorview and whether those LUNs can be seen as expected by the ESX servers themselves. This tab also provides visibility into the relationship between a data store and the underlying replication state, whether that data store is synchronously or asynchronously replicated, the consistency group name, and relative LUN numbers. This view is also customizable. You can drag and drop specific columns to and from Mirrorview Insight for VMware, providing tremendous flexibility. The Replicated LUN on ESX tab allows you to view the configuration details from a Virtual Center perspective. What stands out to me is this tab looks and feels very much like Virtual Center itself. Here we can see the ESX server and the replicated source and target LUNs and the VM HBA identifiers of each one of those given LUNs. This is very intuitive for the VMware administrator. Here we can also see the VM to data store LUN relationships, which is very important when creating that initial Site Recovery Manager plan. Here in the Boston Data Center, we can see the VM6 lies on that promoted snapshot data store that we failed over earlier in this demo. The Data Store tab provides a ton of great information. Here you can go data store by data store and validate that the configuration is acceptable for VMware Site Recovery Manager failover and Mirrorview Insight failback operations. The simple green checkbox next to the data store signifies that all the given LUNs and components that make up a given data store are being replicated by Mirrorview technology. This is tremendously important if you're using Extents and that multiple LUNs make up a given data store. Here on the Virtual Machines tab, you can validate that all the given components that make up a virtual machine are being replicated. That's very important in that multiple VMDK files can sit on different data stores, and this will ensure that both of those data stores are being replicated by Mirrorview. Here we can also see that VM6 has been failed over with Site Recovery Manager, and it shows as a shadow VM within this configuration. The Data Store Groups tab provides final validation of the configuration and whether or not it's valid for Mirrorview failover or failback operations. Here, if we look at one of the given data stores, we see that there's actually a mismatch in the configuration. There's actually a LUN in the storage consistency group that is not part of the SRM configuration. What's important to note here is that this type of information would have required both the VMware administrator and storage administrator's time in troubleshooting this mismatch. If we look at VM6's data store below, we see the green checkbox indicating that it's valid for Mirrorview failback operations. So if we click Next, we can move to the next screen, which allows us to configure the virtual machines for failover. What's really interesting here is that Mirrorview Insight for VMware gives you the same capability as VMware Site Recovery Manager, and that you can change the configuration of the virtual machines as they're being failed over. Now let's open up the production and DR Virtual Center instances and perform a failback operation with Mirrorview Insight. It's as simple as clicking the failover button and then accepting the warning message and clicking on Proceed. Here's the real fun part. Mirrorview Insight for VMware with the click of a button is now going to fail over VM6 from Boston to the Seattle data center. What it's going to do first is power off the VM in the Boston Virtual Center instance. Once it's powered off, we can now resynchronize the LUNs from the Boston Clarion array to the Seattle Clarion array. Once the resync is complete, we can now promote the mirror in the Seattle Clarion. After we promote that mirror, we can now rescan the HBAs of the Seattle ESX server, resignature the VMFS volume, and mount it. Once the mount is complete, we now re-register VM6 in the Seattle Virtual Center and start it up based on the priority that was set by Mirrorview Insight. Mirrorview Insight for VMware will also clean up the Virtual Center in Boston and unregister VM6, which is now a shadow VM. As we can see here, with one simple step, we now have completely failed over VM6 from Boston to Seattle. Once again, this is Mirrorview Insight for VMware, a simple tool that provides visibility and extends failback capabilities to VMware's Site Recovery Manager. This tool is freely available and is bundled with the latest Mirrorview adapter for VMware's Site Recovery Manager.